Again, showing you a little bit more detail on the speed square. You can't see it from this angle so much, but this edge of the speed square is flush with the end of the board. And you'll see here several measurements. On the bottom you have the degrees, which is how many degrees off of 0 up to 90. And then you have your common cuts along here, which is for cutting rafters and that sort of thing for your roof, and then hip and valley cuts here. I'll explain a little bit more about that here in just a second. Most people who are not experienced carpenters or somewhat experienced, you might as well just ignore this whole hip and valley, other than the fact of don't read these numbers. What these ones here, the common rafter cuts, mean is, for example, if somebody says you're building a roof that's 6 on 12, that means for every 12 inches that it goes horizontally, it goes up or vertically 6 inches or 6 feet on 12 feet, whatever the case might be. So if you wanted to cut an angle that would be the right angle for 6 on 12 roof, you'd use that mark right there. If it was an 8 on 12, you use this one. If it was a 10 on 12, you use that one. If it's a 12 on 12, and when you get up into these, you're actually going into reverse, which you're not going to use that much. And then sometimes they might say, cut me a board that's 17 inches to the long point, 35-degree angle. So, just so you know what those this is a hip roof. That's the design of it. This part here is called the hip, this outside ridge here, and this, of course, is your valley. So when you saw on here the hip and valley cuts, that's what you would have to use these measurements for building that kind of a roof. And then if you're this is more typical, it's called a gable roof. So you have your gable ends here. Again, you have a valley, and then you have a ridge that goes across the top here. But these here are all common cuts. So this one here is about a 6 on 12. So this up here, if you wanted to cut that angle so that these tops would match, you would cut it and mark it on that 6, and then the same way on the bottom. And this, just for your reference, is also called a gambrel. It's like a barn style roof that they do put on some houses and things like that. It's a little bit more decorative and that sort of thing. The idea of that over a gable roof, as you can see, it gives you a lot more width on your second story. If that was just a triangular shaped gable roof, you'd be missing all this area in here and all this area here, and that gives you much more actual living space on your second floor. So just quickly to review that, 3 types of roof. That's a hip roof, that's a gable roof, and that's a gambrel roof. So when you're marking these, you would just use this as your pivot point here. This is that flat part that I said rested against the edge. You would swing that or pivot it around until, like right here, I have it on 35 degrees. It's actually about 8 1/4 on 12. So every pitch of the roof has a corresponding degree as well, but make sure that you're looking at the right scale when you're marking these. Most of the time you'll never use this. It's either something on 12 pitch or so many degrees that you're looking to mark. And when you pivot that, I've already moved it back away from the line so you can see the line, but you make your mark and then you just cut that angle with your skill saw.